Imagine your husband raising his hand against you. Not once, not twice, but every single morning, only to please your own stepsister who seduced him. That is the betrayal Cassie lived with, until she did something nobody could believe. Let's watch it together. Cassie sat quietly on the floor, her cheek still hurt from Tony's slap. Her eyes were filled with tears as she stared at the broken plates scattered near her feet. "You call this food?" Tony barked angrily. "Is this how a wife should cook for her husband?" "Now I see. Now I know. Mira warned me that you don't know how to take care of me." Cassie's head quickly looked up at the mention of that name. Mira, her own stepsister. "Tony, why are you always mentioning Mira in everything?" Cassie whispered, her voice trembled. "What has she told you about me?" Tony's face twisted with rage. "Shut up. Do you think I don't see the way you treat her, always looking at her with bad eyes? She told me how you insult her behind my back. I will not allow you to maltreat her in my house." Before Cassie could reply, his hand came down again, across her face. She staggered and held the wall for balance, but she was not silent. She wiped her tears, stood straight, and said with all the courage she could gather, "Mira is my sister. I have never treated her badly. Tony, why are you believing lies against me?" At that moment, Mira stepped into the sitting room. Her face wore the sweetest of smiles, but her eyes glittered with wicked triumph. "Ah, Sister Cassie," she said softly, "you're crying again? I told you not to provoke Tony. You know he doesn't like disrespect. Why do you always look at me as if I'm your enemy?" Cassie's mouth fell open. "Enemy? Mira, you are the one causing all this. Stop lying to my husband." But before she could say more, Tony pounced on her again, raining blows until she fell to the floor, gasping. Mira bent over and placed a fake hand on her shoulder. "Sister, why do you always push him to anger? You should know better. You should learn to keep quiet." Her smile was sweet, but her words pierced Cassie's heart like knives. That was not the first time Tony had raised his hand against her, but tonight felt different. Tonight he had said the words clearly. "Mira warned me that you don't know how to take care of me." Cassie sat still for a long time. She had married Tony 3 years ago. Back then, he was her dream man, tall, handsome, and hard-working. Everyone admired how he loved and spoiled her. At least, that was what it looked like from the outside. But all that changed the day Mira moved into their house. Mira was Cassie's stepsister from her late father's second wife. They were not close growing up, but after Mira claimed she had lost her job and had nowhere to go, Cassie, being kind-hearted, begged her husband to allow her stay with them for some time. Tony didn't object to that at first. In fact, he smiled and said, "Your sister is my sister. She is welcome," but Cassie noticed something early on, the way his eyes looked at Mira lustfully when she walked past in her short dresses, the way he laughed too much at her jokes, the way he started comparing them. Mira's cooking, Mira's boldness, Mira's this, Mira's that. Still, Cassie ignored it. She kept telling herself she was only imagining things. Until Tony started raising his hand on her. That was how it started. Every time Cassie tried to confront her stepsister, Mira would twist it with lies. She would go to Tony and say, "Your wife insulted me again today," or "She doesn't want me in this house." And each time, Tony's anger grew worse. He began to treat his wife like a punching bag. Cassie wondered if she was cursed. How could her own blood sister destroy her marriage this way? One evening, Cassie came back from the office earlier than usual. She pushed the front door open, but the house was unusually silent and only filled with a quiet humming sound, coming faintly from the inside. She walked in quietly, wondering what was going on. And as she entered the house, she froze. From inside the bedroom came sounds that made her blood run cold. Low moans, giggles, and then Tony's deep voice groaning with pleasure. Her body shook violently as the realization struck her. Her husband, her stepsister, in her own bedroom. Her bag slipped from her hand, tears blurred her eyes. She turned and ran outside before they could see her. That night, she cried like never before. Her pillow was soaked. The pain was too heavy for words. The next morning, she summoned courage and asked Tony carefully, "Tony, tell me the truth. Are you Are you seeing another woman? Instead of answering, Tony's eyes blazed with fury. Have you gone nuts? How dare you ask me such a thing? Because I feel something is wrong, she wanted to say. But before she could finish, he pounced on her with heavy blows. He beat her until she could not move. She fainted on the floor, her body became weak. When she woke up hours later, Mira was standing over her, smiling. You see, she whispered, you should have kept your mouth shut. Now you know the price of asking useless questions. Cassie turned her face to the wall, sobbing silently. She could not carry this pain alone. The next day, she went to her uncle, who lived just a street away. Uncle, please, she begged with swollen eyes. Tony is having something with my stepsister, and I cannot take it anymore. Her uncle frowned deeply. What? With Mira? This is an abomination. I will call him immediately. They called Tony that evening. He arrived dressed in his office shirt. His face looked innocent. Uncle, I don't know what Cassie is talking about, he said smoothly. I will never touch her sister. She is just imagining things because we don't have a child yet. She is bitter, and now she wants to tarnish my name. Cassie gasped. That's a lie, she cried, but her uncle only looked at her with pity. Cassie didn't stop there. A week later, she reported the matter to Tony's office when she thought she had a chance. His boss called him for questioning, but again Tony denied everything. Sir, my wife is unstable, he said confidently. She is jealous and just suspicious of her younger sister who lives with us. She is trying to tarnish my image here at work. The boss frowned at Cassie and said, Madam, you have to be careful. If you bring family drama here again, your husband could lose his job. Humiliated, Cassie walked out of the office, her heart broke even further. But the worst came one evening when she returned from the supermarket and found them in the sitting room, their bodies entangled, laughing like lovers. She dropped her bag and shouted, Tony, how could you, in front of my eyes, with my own sister? Tony stood up slowly, his face was hard. Yes, he said boldly, I am with her. She gives me what you cannot give, and let me even warn you, if you ever open your mouth to tell anybody again, I will make sure you are as good as dead. Before she could react, he charged at her again, beating her mercilessly until she could not feel her own body. As Cassie lay on the floor, her strength was gone and her spirit almost broken. But in her heart, something shifted that night. She knew silence would kill her. And for the first time, she decided she must go see her friend Janet and tell her what was happening. As she thought about it, her tears rolled freely, but this time they were mixed with a small spark of hope. As Cassie sat in Janet's shop the next morning, her face was still swollen from the beating. The whirring sound of sewing machines filled the room, but Cassie heard nothing. Her heart was heavy and her mind filled with shame. Stop crying, Cassie, Janet said firmly, holding her friend's hand. Enough of these tears. You have done everything a wife can do. You reported him to family, to his office, and they all believed his lies. But now it's time to stop talking. We need proof, Cassie whispered. Yes, Janet nodded. Men like Tony only understand shame when the truth is shown to the world. And that stepsister of yours, she will not stop until she has destroyed you completely. We must find evidence of what they are doing and hold them red-handed. Cassie wiped her face. For the first time in months, her tears stopped flowing. But how will we do it? She asked. Janet leaned closer, lowering her voice. We will follow them. We will record them. We will gather every piece of evidence until they cannot deny it again. That evening, Cassie returned home quietly. Tony was seated in the sitting room with Mira. Both of them were laughing at something on the phone. When he saw Cassie, his smile disappeared and his eyes narrowed. Why are you staring? He barked. Cassie lowered her gaze quickly and whispered, Nothing. But in her heart, she made up her mind. I will no longer cry. I will gather proof. The first chance came just 3 nights later. Tony dressed in his best shirt, spraying perfume all over his body. Where are you going at this hour? Cassie asked carefully. To see a client, he snapped. Don't wait for me. To see a client at night, Cassie wondered, but she didn't press further. When the door closed, Cassie's chest tightened. She quickly dialed Janet's number. He just left, she whispered. Good, Janet replied. Meet me at the junction. We will follow him. Cassie wrapped her scarf around her head and slipped out of the compound. Her heart pounded as she joined Janet in her car. Together, they drove slowly behind Tony's vehicle through the busy Lagos streets. After 30 minutes, he parked in front of a hotel. Cassie's hands shook as she held Janet's arm. They watched from the car as Mira arrived minutes later in her red dress and high heels. She smiled at Tony, who touched her waist possessively as they both entered the hotel. Tears filled Cassie's eyes, but Janet held her hand tightly. "Don't cry now. This is the proof we need." Cassie nodded and lifted her phone, recording everything. They waited for 2 hours in the dark car. When Tony and Mira finally came out, their clothes were rumpled, their bodies too close. Janet whispered, "Record them now." Cassie's phone camera caught Tony kissing Mira, whispering something about next time. Mira laughed, brushing his chest with her hand like a woman who owned him. Cassie's body trembled with rage. She wanted to jump out and scream, but she stayed silent. She kept recording. When they finally drove away, Cassie collapsed against the seat. Her heart was broken, but her spirit was alive. "This is it," Janet said. "Step 1 completed. We have video proof." She quickly drove Cassie back to the house even before the two lover birds returned. The next week, Tony's violence grew worse. Every little mistake, every tiny excuse became a reason to beat Cassie. Sometimes she would sit on the floor holding her ribs in pain, and Mira would stand in the corner, watching with folded arms and a smile playing on her lips. 2 days later, Cassie overheard them planning another secret meeting. She quickly informed Janet, and together they followed again. This time, Janet carried a small recording device her cousin had given her. They captured clear audio of Tony telling Mira, "My wife is useless. You are the real woman in my life. I will soon throw her out. Then we can live freely." Mira laughed like a spoilt child. "Promise me, Tony." "You must choose me completely." "I promise," he replied. Janet's eyes widened as she held the device. "This is gold, Cassie. Nobody can deny this kind of proof." Cassie felt tears sting her eyes, but she swallowed them back. "Good. Let the world hear his own voice." But the war was not one-sided. Mira was not only seductive, she was cunning. She started pretending more in front of neighbors, greeting Cassie sweetly in public, calling her "my sister" with a fake smile. Yet behind closed doors, she whispered lies to Tony. "She refused to give me food today. She insulted me when you were not around. She wants me to leave this house." Each lie became another reason for Tony's hand to land on Cassie. Janet was furious when Cassie told her, "This girl is playing a dangerous game. But don't worry, pretend to be quiet. Let her think she is winning. That's when she will make her biggest mistake." Cassie tried. She tried to stay calm, to smile in front of Tony even when her heart was bleeding. She cooked, she cleaned, she played the obedient wife. But every night, when Tony left the room to sleep in Mira's bed, Cassie curled up alone, whispering to herself, "One day they will pay for this pain they are causing me." But the worst was only about to happen, and that day came sooner than expected. One Saturday afternoon, Tony hosted some of his friends in the sitting room. Cassie prepared jollof rice for them, serving the food quietly as a good wife should. But Mira came out wearing one of her beautiful seductive skirts and blouse, loosely showing her chest, and her shoulders were bare. The friends whistled and laughed, and Tony grinned proudly. "This is our sister and my sweetheart," he said boldly, pulling her onto his lap. Cassie's heart stopped. Right there, in front of his friends, he paraded her stepsister as his sweetheart. Humiliated, she dropped the tray she was holding. "Tony, how dare you? With my sister? In front of guests, too?" Tony's smile vanished. He shoved Mira aside and stood up. "Are you crazy? You want to disgrace me in front of my friends?" Before she could answer, his blow descended on her, merciless and hard. His friends tried to stop him, but he warned them off. "If any of you interfere, you wouldn't like what I'll do." They looked away, ashamed, while Cassie cried out in pain. After he was done, he finally left her on the floor, bleeding and weak. Cassie crawled to her room, with blood dripping from her lip. Mira appeared at the door, smiling cruelly. "You should have kept your mouth shut," she said softly. "Now see what you got." Cassie turned her face to the wall, her spirit burned with silent fury. That night, she whispered to herself, "They think they have won, right? But they don't know me yet." 2 days later, she decided to confront Mira directly. She found her in the sitting room, painting her nails while scrolling through her phone. "Mira," Cassie said quietly, "I know everything. I know you are sleeping with my husband." Mira didn't even flinch. Instead, she raised her head, blew on her nails, and smiled. "So?" she said. Cassie blinked. "So? Are you really proud of it?" "Yes," Mira replied boldly. "You have found out finally." "And what can you do? You can't even give him children or even satisfy him. What kind of wife are you anyway? He deserves better, and I am giving him what he wants." Cassie's voice shook. "Did you realize you are destroying my home?" she asked. Mira laughed. "Home? This is my home now. You are just a guest here, and very soon you will pack out with your empty womb." Cassie's hand trembled as she pressed her phone in her clothes pocket. Unknown to Mira, she had also recorded every word. That night, Cassie met with Janet and played the recording. Janet's eyes widened. "This is powerful, Cassie. Everyone will soon hear the truth, and nobody will believe their lies anymore." Cassie's eyes, though swollen with pain, now carried the quest for vengeance. She no longer cried herself to sleep. She was patient, watching, collecting her silent weapons. Until one evening, she walked past their bedroom and heard Mira's voice, sharper this time. "Tony, you must tell her soon. I can't hide this forever. She will find out anyway." Cassie froze. She placed her hand on the wall. What couldn't be hidden, she wondered. Tony's voice came next, low and urgent. "Calm down. We will tell her when the time is right. For now, let her continue living in ignorance." Mira laughed softly. "Ignorance? I almost pity her. But when she sees the truth, she will know that she has lost everything." Cassie's heart beat wildly. She didn't understand what they meant, but she knew one thing. Whatever secret they were keeping would crush her completely if she didn't act first and act soon. And so, at that moment, Cassie decided. The time for silence was almost over. A few days later, it was Sunday morning when Tony's mother came visiting. Cassie had just finished dressing for church when she heard the knock. She opened the door and nearly dropped the jotter in her hand. Mama Tony stormed in, her wrapper tied tightly around her chest, her face twisted with anger. "Shameless woman," she shouted before Cassie could even greet her. "You are eating my son's food, yet you cannot give him a child. And now Mira is the one carrying his baby." Instantly, Cassie froze. "What did you just say?" The words hit her like thunder. Mama clapped her hands together. "So you don't know? Foolish woman, your sister is pregnant, and very soon I will carry my grandson. What use are you in this house again?" She spat on the ground and marched toward the bedroom where Mira was seated, painting her nails as usual. My dear daughter-in-law," Mama Tony said warmly. "I heard the good news. You will give me the heir my barren daughter-in-law could not give." "God bless you, Mira." Mira smiled sweetly, resting her hand on her flat stomach. She looked at Cassie with victory in her eyes. At that moment, something inside Cassie broke. That night, she lay awake, unable to sleep. A baby. Mira claimed she was carrying Tony's baby. Her mind was racing. If this was true, then her place in the marriage was finished. Everyone would see her as the barren wife who lost her husband to her own sister. She felt Janet's words echoing in her heart. By morning, she made up her mind. She would not just sit and cry, she would uncover the truth. 1 week later, Janet called her excitedly. "Cassie, come quickly. I have something to show you." Cassie rushed to Janet's tailoring shop. Her friend pulled out her phone and opened what? On the screen was a picture of Mira, taken secretly at a lounge in Victoria Island. But she was not with Tony. She was with another man, older, pot-bellied, and dressed in expensive agbada. Mira was holding his hand and laughing, her body pressed against him like a woman showing off her lover. Cassie gasped. "Who is that man?" Janet lowered her voice. "His name is Chief Obilor. He is a politician. People say he is her real sugar daddy. I asked my cousin who works at the lounge, and she said Mira comes there every Friday with him. Cassie, what if the pregnancy is not even Tony's?" The thought shook Cassie to her bones. Days later, she got the chance to test her suspicion. Mira had left her handbag in the sitting room. When she went to bathe, Cassie quickly unzipped it and found a folded hospital receipt tucked inside. The name of the clinic was printed clearly. Her heart pounded, and she took a picture with her phone and replaced it carefully. That evening, she showed Janet. "This is our chance," Janet said. "We will go to that clinic and find out the truth." 2 mornings later, they arrived at the private hospital on the island. Cassie approached the receptionist nervously. "Good morning, please. I came to confirm something for my sister, Mira. She said she did a pregnancy test here." The woman checked a file. "Yes, she came 2 weeks ago. Positive result." "Please," Janet said quickly, "we need to be very sure." "Can we get a copy?" The woman frowned. "Only the patient can collect it." Janet leaned forward, slipping a little money across the table. The woman hesitated, then slid the paper toward them. Cassie scanned it eagerly. Something strange caught her eye. The form was filled with shaky handwriting, and the doctor's signature looked fake. Janet's eyes widened. "Cassie, this result is forged." Cassie felt her knees weaken. "You mean she lied?" "Yes, and if she lied about this, we can prove it. We'll use it to destroy her." That evening, Cassie confronted Tony in the sitting room. "Tony," she said in a steady voice, "is it true that Mira is pregnant for you?" Tony's eyes narrowed. He looked at her, and without regret, he answered, "Yes, and that is why you must pack your things. She will soon give me a child, something you could not do in 3 years." Cassie's lips trembled, but she held her ground. "How are you even sure the baby is yours?" Tony jumped up angrily. "Are you a MD? Are you calling me stupid? Are you saying my woman is sleeping around?" Mira entered just then, holding her stomach dramatically. "Cassie, you are jealous. God has blessed me with what you cannot give." Soon, Tony will be a father. Cassie's hand shook as she reached into her purse. She took a deep breath. "Then explain this." She held up the picture of the clinic receipt. "Why is your pregnancy test forged?" Tony was still wondering what was going on, but Cassie wasn't finished yet. She took out her phone and played the video record Janet had sent to her, showing Mira and her big pot-bellied sugar daddy. Mira's face changed instantly. Tony couldn't believe what he was watching. That was the moment Mira's phone rang in Tony's hand, as he was the one holding it. He answered quickly, but Cassie could hear the voice on the other end. "Baby, are you still coming tomorrow night?" the man said. Cassie's eyes widened. It was Chief Obilaw's voice, the same man from Janet's photo. Tony froze. "Who is that?" he barked. Mira snatched the phone and ended the call. "Nobody," she shouted. Cassie's lips curved in a bitter smile. "Nobody? Or your real man?" Tony's face turned red with rage. "You have been playing me, pregnant with another man's child," Mira hissed. "Fool. Oh, do you think you are the only man in Lagos? Chief gives me what you never could. Money, power, status. You are nothing compared to him." Her words cut into him like a knife. Cassie, standing quietly by the wall, suddenly felt something strange. Not sadness, not anger, but relief. Relief knowing that the truth had finally revealed itself even more than she had prayed and planned it. Mira stormed out of the house without any remorse or regret for anything. That night, Tony was calm as ice, as if trying to process everything and still couldn't believe it. The next day, with Janet's help, Cassie gathered all the evidence: the forged test, the recordings, the photo with Chief Obilaw, and sent them anonymously to Tony's business partners, church leaders, and even his family WhatsApp group. By evening, the whole family was in chaos. Mama Tony called, wailing, "My son, that Mira has disgraced us. She was never pregnant for you. All your business partners are calling, asking if it is true." At the same time, Tony's phone buzzed endlessly with messages from friends and clients, mocking him for being fooled by his wife's stepsister. His reputation collapsed overnight. The final blow came 3 days later. Cassie was cooking when Janet rushed in with her phone in hand. "Cassie, you have to see this." It was a video going viral. Mira caught at the airport with a suitcase full of stolen jewelry and money. Police paraded her, exposing years of scamming wealthy men across Lagos. Cassie dropped the spoon. It was finally over. Mira was finished. That evening, Tony came home early. He looked broken, his shoulders slumped, and his eyes was full of regret. He dropped to his knees before Cassie. "Cassie," his voice broke. "Please forgive me," he whispered. "I was blind and foolish. I let your sister turn me against you. I'm so sorry." Cassie stared at him, shocked. Her heart shattered. She couldn't speak. She couldn't answer. She didn't need to. She felt really hurt. She turned to walk into the room, but suddenly she collapsed. Tony panicked. "Cassie? My love, are you okay?" He shook her in fear. He scooped her up and immediately carried her to the car, rushing to the hospital. "Please, God, don't let anything happen to her," he whispered as he drove. At the hospital, nurses wheeled her into the emergency ward. Tony paced, praying, as the guilt of everything consumed him. Minutes later, the doctor appeared. "She's stable. You're lucky we got to her in time," he said. Then he gave him a faint smile. "And congratulations, Mr. Tony. Your wife is 6 weeks pregnant." Tony sank to his knees. Tears poured freely from his eyes. The guilt of his cruelty and relief at the pregnancy collided inside him. The child he had longed for was on the way, and yet he had almost destroyed everything. When he finally saw Cassie, he held her tightly. His voice broke. "Cassie," he whispered. "I'm so sorry, my love. I was wrong, yes, but I promise I'll never hurt you again." Cassie's tears flowed freely. She whispered through her sobs, I don't know, Tony. I don't know if I can forget everything. But our child." Her voice broke. It was filled with a mix of pain and heartbreak. "I know it's hard for you, but you can take your time, please. I promise to be the best husband and father from today." The words broke Cassie even more. She couldn't hold her anger anymore. Her tears flowed freely, and after a long pause, she whispered, "Okay, I forgive you. For the baby. And us." With Mira gone and Tony retracing his steps and taking responsibility for their unborn child, she finally let her heart speak through her tears. "Never betray the one who truly loves you for the one who flatters you. Lust may shine like gold, but the truth always exposes lies. What do you think Cassie should have done? Do you think she was right by giving Tony another chance? Or should she have left him for good? Comment your thoughts below. I'll go through each of them. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Roots of the African Tales for more powerful stories like this.